Yeah.
So, if on this one? Okay, yeah, yeah. The thing is, we might be running out of time. I don't know how long. Okay, sure. Okay.
We'll take 2-3 questions max based on the time.
So firstly, thank you for the demo. Excellent presentation. Thank you so much. Many congratulations on that. The question is, you showed that you're able to generate a dynamic article from a chat interaction. My question to you is, would it be possible for you to use that for training of the LLM and be able to answer in details from that knowledge article as well? So yeah. Dynamic training of your model from the data generated by your customer.
So right now, it's not with training, right? So the way it works in ServiceNow is you have a lot of documents, right, and then I think you're asking a slightly deeper question. I'm going to give you a deeper answer. So we didn't train that, right? Like you can have as many documents as you want, and then we have a background process which reads these documents and creates an inverted index.
So
and when
something
the VA
like
comes in, okay. So when the virtual agent comes in, you give the word, and sometimes it uses NLU to actually go fetch the right KB article, and then says that that's the right KB article to be answered from. Then from that KB article, for that query, it goes and finds out the right answer.
Okay, so you do a TF-IDF match and then do?
Not TF-IDF, it's slightly different.
Right,
but
sure,
yeah.
Thank you.
We'll take the question. Questions after that.
So should I go back to this one? 2 minutes and then I'll be done. Okay. So, all of you are PMs. I know this came up when people were discussing how do I think about Gen AI use cases. A lot of things to be taken into account. The first thing, I'm going to keep it very short so that he has time to present. First thing is about whether customer data can be sent to a third party, right? If customer data can be sent to a third party, then you should actually do prompt engineering. You can use OpenAI, Azure OpenAI. Second is, are you trying to send data out, or are you trying to receive data from there, right? Are you trying to generate content? If you're trying to generate content, then you can pretty much use Azure OpenAI for it. But then that's when you would need prompt engineering, which is what Ravindra will cover in detail as to how to think of your own set of prompts and prompt engineering. What are the tips and tricks and what you should and should not do. The second part is what we are doing, right? Like fine-tuning our own LLM, building our own LLM, and which is where we think the first question is like what they said, right? The value. right, which is ROI. If you have ROI, think of, oh, I don't want to send the data out, but then do I have labelers? Can I create my own data? Can it run on CPUs? Do I have enough money to buy GPUs? Because some of these things, you saw how long it took, right? It's not like a 2-second return time. It sometimes takes 30 seconds. Sometimes when it writes code, it keeps thinking of every line of code, right? Like in this case, it just came out very fast because it was all generated and then just threw right on your face. Then we need to find out how to scale, right? Even on GPUs, there are lots of things, like you have multiple layers, how many requests you can do, a lot of things to think about. So it needs a lot of investment, money, which you need to go through. And even here, you need to do prompt engineering. But on the other side is domain-specific models. I don't want to take any open source model, but I want to pre-train from scratch. That's when you go on the last side. The last side is something we will not cover right now, but we will cover the prompt engineering and the model fine-tuning by Ravindra, and he will walk you through. So if you have a laptop at the end of it, and then connect your 5G, you would be able to build your own LLM sitting right here in 5 minutes. Okay?
Okay. Thanks, Deva, and thanks, Shrika, for all the demos. So what I will do in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to squeeze my presentation a little bit for want of time, is I'll talk a little bit about prompting. It's a little bit of theoretical subject. It's actually a very complex subject, but I'll try to keep it at a very high level. And what I would like to do is draw your attention to the influence of how you instruct the language models and the behavioral language models based on how you instruct them. And that's very important because we saw already that these are stochastic in nature and they're going to produce non-deterministic results. Okay, so those of you who have been working or dealing with machine learning know this evolution of machine learning algorithms, right? So initially we had this concept of supervised learning. So we would take data, then there would be labelers who would give you the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and then you would train a machine learning model. Basically, it is more of a fit. Given X and Y, try to find the relationship or equation that matches, which generates Y from X. So then what happened was we started going into something called as masked language models. So the moment we went into masked language models, what we would do is we would kind of mask certain portions of the language. That mask means, imagine you drop a particular word or a phrase from a sentence and let the language model figure out what that missing word is. So that is how these language models begin to learn. And then once you do that, you basically teach them language. That's how you teach them language. That's how children learn language. So they will use one word, they will use another word, and they'll try to fill in the middle word based on patterns that they're seeing. So similar ideas were used to create these language models. And then you would have to do supervised training on them. The reason why you had to do supervised training is it learns the language, but it doesn't learn the task. So it's that for the reason of the task, you would want to do supervised learning over it. Then came the final stage. That's the state of the art. That's where we are as of today. It is called as instruction fine-tuning. So you instruct the language model to produce a very specific type of output. So Jeva showed you so many different examples, right? How is it that a single language model is able to produce so many different outputs based on the instruction? So there is a very well defined way to train these language models based on instructions, and that's called instruction fine-tuning. And then over and above the instruction fine-tuning, you give the instruction. That's what is called as prompting. Now, so I'll skip this. Jeva talked about it. So let's look at the anatomy of a prompt. So I've taken, there are lots of complex prompts. The most complex prompts are called as the chain of thought prompts, where the language model tells you how it is arriving at a particular output. It feels like it's thinking. In reality, it's very dumb. The language models are really dumb. They don't have any intelligence in them. It's just a bunch of matrix multiplications which are taking place, right? But the prompts are playing around with the probability distributions. They're forcing the language model to produce output in a particular way. But in order to do that, you have to follow certain templates. So one of the simplest template is highlighted here. You'll have a role play. For example, it sets the tone of the response. You would have seen examples like, think that you're a 6-year-old and write this article, right? So that is the role play. Then you have an instruction, like where you say, answer this question. So there is an instruction. If you don't give the instruction, then it's going to go all over the place. You saw that with the example of Barack. Simple hyphens, slash ns, it gives different outputs. And then you have something called as a context, where you tell the language model to produce output from a very specific context. So here is one example. Assume you are a Unix terminal with the prompt max 101, and then you have that greater than sign. Summarize the below paragraph and print on terminal. So I have given a paragraph. So this paragraph which is given here called as context. What we are telling the language model is, you don't bring things out of your memory. Don't bring things out of what you have learned. Use this very specific paragraph, and based on this paragraph, produce an output. And the way you do that is by giving this instruction at the top. So you have a role play, you have an instruction, and then you end up getting the response. So if you see here, it has actually used this max 101 greater than, like typically the way we find it in our terminals. So it has used that output, and it has gone and generated a summary out of the big block of text which is out here. Now you can extend the prompts. You can give a format specifier. So you can say, hey, you print it in a JSON form. Now, these are very important for us because a lot of enterprise data is stored in databases. So we pull data from databases, then we process and then push it back into databases. So we want the inputs to be read in a particular format and the outputs to be generated in a particular format so that we can again write it back into databases. So the format specifier is very useful. Then you have an audience specifier. Usually we don't use this in the enterprise. It's more like, it's fun, but it's very difficult to create these audience specifiers. Again, write it for a 6-year-old is like an audience specifier. And then we have scope. So scope is where we set an expectation of the content or the response. We say, hey, write a summary in 3 lines. So that is the scope. And sorry, that's the constraint. So where you say, hey, make it smaller, right? The scope will be like, it should be the main emphasis or on a mandatory configuration steps. Let's say, for example, you have an example like this, right? The main emphasis should be on mandatory configuration steps. So we have, Shrika showed this demo of summarization, right? So in the summarization demo, what he showed was he showed very specific items that were summarized. So a summary can be like hundreds of lines, but we want very specific pieces to be included in the summary, right? So how do you tell the language model to do that? So that's also part of the prompt. So here is a slightly extended version of the prompt. Assume you are a Unix terminal with the prompt max 101. Summarize the below paragraph in 10 words. So 10 is the constraint there. And print on terminal as JSON. So that is the format specifier. So what I will do is I will take a bunch of use cases and I will show you how we can leverage or realize these use cases using prompting. Okay. So here are the use cases. So given an incident from an incident table, extract, that is summarize, the key issues of an incident as a bulleted list. So we want it as a bulleted list. The data is coming from an incidents table, which is like a table in nature. So that's one use case. So how do you make the language model respond to this? So redact sensitive information. It's not a great use case for language models, especially the models which are hosted outside. You don't want to send your sensitive data there and ask the models to redact the sensitive information. But in case you have your own deployments, this could be one of the use cases. So given an incident from incident table, generate an overview as a text paragraph. And then you can summarize an incident with a predetermined list. So let me just walk you through these examples. Okay, so here is the task. Given an incident from the incident table, extract the key issues of an incident as bulleted list. And why do you want to do that? We want to present the key issues for quick eyeballing in the UI. So suppose imagine you have a UI and there is a small box there and somebody hovers on it. You just want a pop-up there to give a bulleted list of what is important about that incident. Right? So that's the use case you want to populate here. So we'll prompt the LLM with this. We can say summarize the main issues in this paragraph as bulleted list. And then we say paragraph colon and then give the paragraph. So these words, paragraph, bulleted list, these are very key within the language model. If you give those words correctly, that's where your data scientists and prompt engineers will be playing around. If you give the right word, you can elicit the right response from the language model. And on the right-hand side, you see the response, you see the bulleted list out there. Now let's extend this. We want to redact sensitive information. So when you give the bulleted list out there, we don't know who all are viewing it. Maybe there are access controls over it. So you want to redact the sensitive information. So we just extend the prompt. We say summarize the main issues in this paragraph as bulleted list, redact PII information. Now see what has happened on the right hand side. So if you see the mobile number was redacted, but a particular name has been there as is. You can see Jason B there. So the name is still out there. Now how do you counter this, or how do you make your prompt different so that it responds to you? So we'll just extend the prompt. Please remove any PI information from the paragraph and summarize the main issues as bulleted list. You see how we just juxtaposed the instruction, and just juxtaposing the instruction will change the behavior of the language model because of the probability distributions around word generation. And here, there was a lot of redaction which took place. Okay, so now here is an interesting one. So the databases are where our data is stored, right? When you pull data from databases, they come out in a formatted way. So it could be a table. So you can always instruct the data to come out in a JSON format. But humans are not comfortable with JSON, right? When you show it in a UI, you would actually want to show it in a more readable format. So you can use this JSON output which comes and then convert it into a running text and show it to the user. So this is another user experience which you can drive using a language model. And it's very simple prompt here. It's a paraphrase use case. So you use the word paraphrase. So the moment you use the word paraphrase, it is able to paraphrase. And the reason why it's able to paraphrase is again because of the instruction fine tuning which I referred to at the beginning. So here you just say paraphrase the following JSON of a support ticket in plain English, and then it takes it even writes the dates. So you see how it's changed the dates. It's made the dates more verbose in the output. So these capabilities exist with generative language models. Okay, now summarization is one key use case. A lot of people want to summarize a very large document. Now, how do you make a language model summarize a large document with very specific information? So the reason why summarization is such an important problem is it is very contextual. Everybody wants a different summary from the output. Now, how do you get different summaries for the same document based on the expected usage, right? So one way to solve the summarization problem is to convert it into a question answering problem. So you tell the language model to answer a bunch of questions from the text, and in response it is going to generate a summary. So here is one example. What we have done here is we have given a bunch of questions at the beginning of the prompt. We say what is the main issue, what is the issue resolution, blah blah, and then we give an instruction. We say answer the above questions based on the paragraph, and we also tell what should be in the summary, because we want to take this summary and then put it into some database and then show it in the UI again, right? So there is this whole chain which is out there, and in order to cater to this whole chain, we have to instruct the language model. So here is one example where we have questions, we have an output, a paragraph, and in response it is given the summary in the form of a bulleted list out there. Okay, so let's take another example, which is generation of a KB article. So I'll just skip this in the interest of time, and let me go to something not so happy path. So till now we were showing, you know, language models can do this and can do that. Everything is great, but that's not true. There are a lot of issues with language models, and you will not know that until you roll out to production. And when you roll out to production, you don't even know whether the output that was generated is problematic or not. And there's a lot of engineering that goes on to figure out how the language models are behaving in production. So here's one classic example. On the left hand side, we have on left and right, we have a question answering task. Okay. So I give a context given as this green color context, and then there's a block of text, and there's a question. So the question goes like this: forms needed to apply for a driving license. So what we are telling the language model is, I want this question to be answered only based on this block of text out there. Now, where did this block of text come from? Probably it's a knowledge base article. Maybe there was a search engine which ran and then picked the best article from the search output, and then it is running the question on that particular output. Now, it gave a right answer, so the answer which is out here is part of the context which is out there. But imagine you go and edit that knowledge article. Maybe you just add 2 words to it. So that's what I've done here. I've just added, it is a difficult, and then stopped. Now, why would this happen? This happens because many a time these articles are very large and the language models cannot handle full text. So what we do is we do truncation. We take that block of text and just cut it. So imagine here it is cut at this particular red color highlighted words. It is a difficult. Now the same question, just because the article was edited and it was truncated, now completely gives a completely random answer. Nothing that it has answered has come from the text which is given out there. It started to hallucinate and bring the answer out of its own pre-trained knowledge. Now, how do you fix this? How do you know something like this is happening? And this is where it becomes very hard to define problem statements based on generative AI. And that's where this whole concept of prompting comes in, instructing the language model to produce a specific output comes in, and so on. So I just changed the prompt a little bit. I just said, answer the question below from the given context only. So that blue color instruction was given. And once that is done, you get a different answer. It actually started to answer from this block of text. So there are numerous situations and examples like this where language models produce completely bizarre output, and designs of prompts, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to make them reliable. And that's the reason why I was asking questions about how reliable should your system be and what happens. Are you scared of the output from the language models? Okay. So I will just go through a very quick. Where is this? This one? This one, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'll go through a very quick Jupyter notebook. Behind the scenes, what happens?
Let's find out if they want to do it on your own. Do you want to open up your laptop and then do it along with us?
I don't think they have the. I don't think we have the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so
they didn't bring a laptop.
it's fine.
That's fine.
We can share this notebook. I'm sure your data scientist can give you much better notebooks, but what I want to do here is drive a few points for you to take away, right? I just want you to see what happens behind the scenes. So first thing is, many of these language models run on GPUs. So if you design a product and you say, oh, I'm going to roll this out, and imagine you have a P&L target for you. When you have a P&L target, how do you quantify the success of your product? First, you need GPUs to run these language models. So the cost of running GPUs, right? It's very abstract because you will need cooling power. It has impacts on your ESG metrics. Then it has the cost of actually deploying that in your data centers, or if you have API tokens, payment for the API tokens. Do you how to make a generative AI product successful? Nothing to do with technology. It's all about the cost of it.
Just to add a tidbit on the amount of the ESG metric he talked about. If you train the GPT 3.5 once, right, it runs for 36 days, and the amount of carbon emissions is around 500 metric tons, and the produced by a jumbo jet if it has to go to the moon and back 9 times. So that's the amount of carbon dioxide which gets produced for one training of GPT-3.
Yeah, so you got to look at the specifications. So many a times, these GPUs don't have enough memory to hold your language models. So Shrikar showed you the demo where the code was generated, right? So it is 15 billion parameters in size. Okay, it's a model that ServiceNow has created, ServiceNow research team has created, which we have used, is 15 billion parameters. So 15 billion parameters, to hold the model, you will need at least 60 plus GB of RAM inside the GPU if you want the 32-bit representation, and half of it if you want the 16-bit representation. Now, NVIDIA is going to charge you the GPUs that most commonly used, is going to charge you a lot of money for the higher end GPUs called A100s and H100s. Now, if you go to the lower end GPUs, the cost is lower, but at the same time, your response times also fall. Okay, you need to plan for this in terms of when you're rolling out a generative AI product. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, what models do you use? Do you always hit OpenAI? Sure, you can hit OpenAI, provided your customers agree to send their data to OpenAI. So that's one of the key blockers for many of these generative AI use cases. Okay, you decided to build your own language model. Fine. So if you build your own language model, what model do you use? Of course, it's the problem that the engineering team has to figure out, but the impact of the choice of the model is going to be felt by the end customer and the product success. Okay, so if you go to Hugging Face models, I'll just see whether I can go to this.
It's not there. You have to open a new tab.
It
I didn't open it. Open a new tab and then.
You want me to paste it? Okay. Let me just
do a plus.
paste it here. No, I'll just paste this. Okay, so let's see how many models are there in Hugging Face. You see this number? There are 300K models which are available out there. How do you choose the right model from here? If you want to, fine tune the model, if you want to host it on your own GPU. So there is a lot of research which goes on here. There are a lot of uncertainties, and we don't know at the end of the day how these models produce. And there are models for everything. There is models for text to video. There are models for text to text. So this is again is a huge exercise which you will have to go through well in advance in preparation for the rollout of your product. So I will not run through this notebook, but let me quickly. Okay, so let me quickly run the notebook. So usually what happens is there are some dependencies. You see all this install transformer, sentence piece, and all of this. So these dependencies have to be installed, and every time the dependencies change, the behavior of the model changes, things break. It's an engineering nightmare, but it's their problem. And then let's see what a model looks like. How many of you have seen the model? What does it look like on the disk? Okay, so here I have an example of a model. So this is called as a T5. So you see this flan T5 large. This is the name of a model. This is around so on the disk, if you see,
you can show it to them on Hugging Face as well, so they are able to correlate.
Okay, so let me go to here. Google. So let's see this. So here you see flan T5 large. So let me just click on it. So it will tell you how many downloads that it has had. Then it's going to have something called as the model card. So let's look at, there is a, sorry. Yeah, so you can see that it's around 3 GB in size. So that's the size of the model. But what does the model look like on the disk? So the model looks like a bunch of files. So here I've taken the smaller version, which is 300 MB in size. So it just looks like a file. So what this also means, behavior of the product by just replacing this file. No more engineering to be done. However, every time you replace the file, your behaviors change. The model starts doing different things. So that's where the determinism is suddenly gone from your system. So you got to watch out for this. Okay, so I have a few examples here just to see how this such a small model behaves. So I have one exercise. So it says answer the following question. There's a question and we are basically asking for an answer. So we can run that and see what happens. I don't know whether I have time to run it. Okay, let me just run some of these. So I'll have to start all the way from the start. So you see here, you see this allocating and connecting. So what is happening here is, because I'm running a collab notebook, it is actually trying to get one GPU for you to run the model. So let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, so Google gives one GPU, the T4, for free. If you log into collab.google.com, you get one GPU for free, and you can do a lot of experiments there.
Yeah, so here there is a GPU which is allocated to you. Okay, then it's still downloading all this. Are we running out of time? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
right.
maybe we'll share this notebook with you. You can just run it you can just take it to your Google account and run it there. Just have to just click these play buttons here, and then you're going to get the output. So where you can actually play is by changing this. You get a feel for what happens to these models and how they behave.
Yeah. So you'll be
Okay.
changing two things. One is that model name which you saw. So cut and paste anything from Hugging Face, and then change the prompt, and then you're good to go. Those are the two things you need to change. So do we have time for questions? If there are? Yeah? We are having a break? No, we'll have two questions. Okay. You can use this if you want.
I'm a sustainability person as a PM, and then when I heard that there's going to be to run one book on GPT 3.5, we require 36 days and 500 metric tons. That was kind of a choking thing for me the moment I read it. Right. If that is what ServiceNow is doing, do you have any carbon offset programs that runs in your organization to take care of it?
Yes, we do. We are 100% ESG compliant. So we buy green credit. For it, but then we are not building GPT kind of models. So we build very small billion parameter model, much smaller.
So
I started Googling about ServiceNow sustainability.
Yeah, we are 100%. You would see that too.
So one of the strategies that we follow is ask this question: why do we need such a big model? Why 15 billion? Why 170 billion? Is it possible for us to build with 10 million? So we have models which are just 10 million and runs on CPUs. So that is again a design parameter. You start small and then expand the scope of the model till you get the accuracy.
No, at some point, I think most of these GPUs and the data centers will be solar powered, but that's what every company aspires to be. But till that is done, you buy green credits. Yeah.
Quick question here: if the GPTs are, predicting the answer by the text grammar ensured. And quick second question is, in the ServiceNow LLM, is there RLHF included, reinforcement learning with human feedback, or
Let me take that mic.
Yeah, so the first question was around grammar, right? So that's what language model is. So he talked about masking and how it learns. And if you can even build your own model, right? So you can go to Hugging Face, download the entire Git, and then you can build your model from scratch. And when you give all the data in, it has taken what Wikipedia, all the news articles, books, everything. So with that, it is able to learn the grammar, right? So that's how GPT-3 is trained. GPTs are trained. In fact, even our model was trained that way, right? So once you put that in, and he talked about different mechanism. So one of them is the masking mechanism. So you mask it and then it starts learning. And your second question was around RLHF. Yes, we do.
So let me add to that. In reality, grammar is actually a rule. So English or any language, it actually imposes the rule. We don't create random word sequences. We are forced to create word sequences in a very specific fashion, right? It's been done because if you create words in a specific fashion, what you create can be understood by the other person. So actually language is a rule. It's just that it's hard for us to express that rule in a, if you take a board and have to write on it, it's very hard to express. So that's where the language models learn those rules inherently by those training examples that you give.
Yeah. So if you look at the way people solve language, I'm not sure if you were there like 20 years ago or something, where we had to write grammar rules. Right? I'm not sure if you have done that. So you write subject, predicate, whatever. You have to write a series of rules, even for translation. Right? So you have to write the rule for English, the rules for French, and then see how the each sentence, grammar in each line of grammar maps to one. So you need to write a transformation layer. Now all that work is done by the LLMs. So LLMs, if you give English, French, Spanish, French, all different languages, just dump in data and then it just learns automatically, right? So there is no grammar to be written. You don't have to scratch heads. You don't have to hire computational linguists for that particular task. So today, computational linguists are needed for defining the data problem, right? Like if you want to fine-tune a model, you need a lot of data, and that's where the linguists and labelers come in.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
సో నేను ఇక్కడ సహజయోగ ప్రోగ్రామ్ అని మెడిటేషన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ని పిల్లలకు నేర్పడానికి ప్రతి వారంలో ఒక రోజు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి
వరకు 19 మంది విద్యార్థులు చదువుకుంటున్నారు. వాళ్ళ ఏజ్ 6 సంవత్సరాల నుండి 17 సంవత్సరాల వయసు విద్యార్థులు మన ద్వారా చదువుకుంటూ ఉన్నారు. విద్యార్థులకు ప్రైమరీ సెక్షన్ అండ్ హైయర్ సెక్షన్ 2 భాగాలు విభజించి విద్యార్థుల యొక్క మానసిక ప్రవర్తన లోపల
ఇక్కడికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళడము, అంటే ప్రతిరోజు రొటీన్గా వాళ్ళు బ్రేక్ఫాస్ట్ కంప్లీట్ చేసి స్కూల్కి వెళ్ళడం, మళ్ళీ రావడం, స్టడీ అవర్స్, గేమ్స్, ఇవన్నీ పిల్లలు చాలా బాగా ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తుంటారు. అదే ఒకవేళ మేము మా ఇంటి దగ్గరే ఉన్నట్టయితే మేము ఇవన్నీ మిస్ అయిపోయే వాళ్ళం కదా అని చెప్తూ ఉంటారు.
మార్నింగ్ క్లాస్ ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్ నుంచి 10th క్లాస్ వరకు ఒక లైన్ పెట్టేసి స్కూల్కి తీసుకెళ్తాను సార్. తీసుకెళ్ళిన తర్వాత స్కూల్ హెడ్ మాస్టర్ తోటి మా పిల్లలు అని చెప్పేసి వాళ్ళకు ఇన్ఫార్మ్ చేస్తాం, మా పిల్లలు ఆల్రెడీ హోంవర్క్ స్కూల్కి చేరుకున్నారు అని చెప్పేస్తాం. అదే నా పేరెంట్స్ మీటింగ్ అనుకో, వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత అక్కడ పేరెంట్స్ మీటింగ్ అటెండ్ అయిన తర్వాత వాళ్ళ స్కూల్లో వాళ్ళ క్లాస్ టీచర్ కానీ, వాళ్ళ హెడ్ మాస్టర్ కానీ, మా ప్రైమరీ స్కూల్ పిల్లలు కానీ, హై స్కూల్ పిల్లలు కానీ, వాళ్ళ ఏమైనా ఇంట్లో వెనుకబడి ఉన్నారా, ఏ సబ్జెక్టులను వెనుకబడి ఉన్నారా, స్కూల్లో అల్లరి ఎటువంటి సమస్యలు ఉన్నాయి వాళ్ళు చేస్తాం. వెంటనే యాక్షన్ హోమ్కి వచ్చిన తర్వాత కొద్దిగా అబ్జర్వేషన్ చేస్తాం, ఎటువంటి ఉన్నాయా లేవా, అటువంటి సార్లు లేపినవి ఉన్నాయా అని చూసిన తర్వాత వాటి మీద ఏ విధంగా చర్య తీసుకోవాలని చెప్పేసి సార్ వాళ్ళతో డిస్కస్ చేసుకొని
నా పేరు వంశీ. నేను 9వ తరగతి చదువుతున్నాను. గత 2 సంవత్సరాలు యశోద ఫౌండేషన్లో ఉంటున్నాను. నాకు యశోద ఫౌండేషన్లో నాకు స్పోర్ట్స్ సంబంధించిన అన్నీ అందుబాటులో ఉన్నాయి. ప్రతిరోజు అలాగే ప్రాక్టీస్ చేసుకుంటుంటాను. అలాగే హాస్టల్లో సార్ వాళ్ళు గేమ్స్పై బాగా అవగాహన కల్పిస్తుంటారు. వీళ్ళన్నిటికీ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ లెవెల్, మండల్ లెవెల్ ఆడొచ్చిన. మండల్ లెవెల్లో 3rd ప్రైజ్ వచ్చింది. అలాగే మేడిపల్లిలో ఆడొచ్చిన, 3rd ప్రైజ్ వచ్చింది. ఒక కప్ వచ్చింది, 3rd ప్రైజ్. అలాగే దాంతోపాటు బెస్ట్ ప్లేయర్ అన్ని గిఫ్ట్ వచ్చింది. ఇవన్నిటికీ కారణము యశోద ఫౌండేషను. యశోద ఫౌండేషన్ ఉన్నందువల్లనే ఇట్లా డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ కానీ మండల్ లెవెల్ కానీ ఆడిపోయినాయి. ఎందుకంటే అన్నీ అందుబాటులో ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి వెళ్ళాను. యశోద ఫౌండేషన్కి అలాగే స్టాఫ్ మెంబర్కి ధన్యవాదములు.
నేను స్టార్టింగ్ నుండి ఈ ఫౌండేషన్ స్టార్ట్ అయినప్పటి నుండి ఇందులోనే చదువుతున్నాను. నేను, మా సిస్టర్స్. ఆఫ్టర్ డాడీ చచ్చిపోయినాక కూడా నాకు ఫౌండేషన్ నుండి చాలా హెల్ప్ వచ్చింది. ఈవెన్ ఇక్కడ ట్యూషన్స్, స్కూల్ అయిపోయినాక రావడం,
మా మేడం వాళ్ళు ఫౌండేషన్లో ఫ్రీ బుక్స్ ఇవన్నీ ఇస్తారు. మా పిల్లలకు సాయం చేపిస్తారు సార్. ఇక మా పాప అఖిల, హారిక, రాజు చిన్నపిల్లలు సార్. చాలా మా అమ్మ వాళ్ళ సాయం బతుకుతున్నాను సార్. కొంచెం హెల్ప్ చేస్తారు. మా పెద్ద పాప మంచిగా స్టడీ చదువుకొని ఆమె అంటది, అమ్మ నేను స్టడీ బాగా చదువుకొని నేను టీచరు ఏదన్నా టీచర్ వర్కర్ ఏదైనా చేసుకుంటాను అమ్మ టీచర్ కానీ అంటది. మా ఇంకో పాప ఉంటుంది, అమ్మ నేను మంచిగా చదువుకొని నీ పేరు నిలబెట్టాలని ఉందమ్మా అంటది. ఇక మా బాబు అయితే కొంచెం చిన్నగా ఉన్నాడు కదా సార్, ఇక మనకి ఇక తెలియదు, ఏమో అంటారు కానీ చదువు మీద కొంచెం ఇప్పుడు చిన్న పిల్లలు కదా శ్రద్ధ పెట్టాడు.
Program is called as a experiential learning program. So this is the way actually we need to break the traditional classroom learning, or whatever you can say that right learning and all. We are working more than 12,000 schools and all, so we know how it brings the happiness to their along with the learning.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
STPI has a not-for-profit sister organization called STPI Next, and STPI Next is responsible for innovation, for creating innovation hubs all over country. So there are about 14-15 such similar centers of entrepreneurships in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Pune, in Bhubaneswar. It's COEs in industries that it wants to grow. So for example, ours is one that grows AVGC, AIN, computer vision. There is one in Vizag that is promoting Industry 4.0. The ones in Pune is promoting mobility. The ones in Chennai are promoting fintech. So each COE has multiple use cases, different industries, different focus areas where these are happening. To our understanding, Image is the only COE within the STPI Next circle of COEs where computer vision is being encouraged. There are a couple of things to note about this. One is one of the reasons why it was decided that Image COE will support computer vision companies is because we have a very close academic tie-up with the International Institute of Information Technology, IIIT Hyderabad. And IIIT Hyderabad is actually one academic institute that is considered to be the best in computer vision research anywhere in India. Now, because of their support, we were actually able to get in a few computer vision companies, and IIIT Hyderabad has been very kind enough to provide consistent mentorship, including technical and R&D mentorship to many of our startups. They have held a very important role in recognizing computer vision as an emerging technology and helping us to promote that. The second thing in mind that we should keep is that computer vision is not, it's a very highly technical subject. It requires a lot of technical resources in terms of implementation. It requires a lot of technical expertise in terms of usage. Therefore, our inflow of computer vision startups generally is not very high. We generally get around 3 to 4 startups every cohort. So far we have helped approximately around 10 startups in the computer vision domain also. AI stands for obviously artificial intelligence. It is the most upcoming sector in emerging technology, not just in Hyderabad and Telangana, but essentially in entire India. What AI does is makes models that bring in a degree of efficiency and intelligence into machine. So instead of the age-old, the 90s and the 2000s were the age of automation, where the same process can be taught to a computer to do it repeatedly again and again and again. However, AI can bring in a level of efficiency where a computer can, to a certain degree, whether it's a computer or whether it is a mobile device, to a certain degree, it can learn by seeing the patterns of what previous work it is doing and enhances optimization. So we have a couple of companies that are doing a great work in artificial intelligence. We have companies that are working for AI safety. We have companies that are using AI in very innovative ways in electric mobility, in sports tech, etc. So we are very bullish about the potential of AI. If you would remember, just a couple of months ago, our government in Lok Sabha has passed the data protection bill, and we foresee that AI is going to play a very significant part in ensuring that that our industries can innovate as quickly as possible to ensure that general social good is happening. So we see AI as a very critical part of that. Computer vision is a sort of a it's a side track to artificial intelligence, where artificial intelligence is used through vision. So essentially through your cameras, through phones, through the cameras in your phones devices, to detect objects and then use those objects in an intelligent way using artificial intelligence. That is what computer vision does. So we actually have companies that are doing people train to play sports like cricket and badminton better using computer vision. We have companies that are developing products that can take a kind of a mini MRI of your brain just by using a handheld device. So those are the kind of use cases that computer vision has.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
The real phase. So we are building an engaging user platform where you can create a team or collaboration between your team member becomes very easy through the AI capabilities. So we have a speech to text board where you can your wish is my command. It's kind of Aladdin ka chirag, when you say something and it executes it. So it's amazing. And with Yara, we have the vision that there will be virtual employees in future, right? So we are in our roadmap. Right now we have virtual project manager. In future we will have the virtual teacher, which will take care of teaching job in the tribal areas where where you're doing your job even after your shop is closed.
How easy or uphill task is being an entrepreneur?
I would say, I think, the financial, which is very hand holding. So I must congratulate them for doing this. I think, if I have to advise, the government and startup can list out their products so that people like Amazon, they have a very good scale of economy advantage, or they have the deep pockets. But great to have.
Thank you. What makes a perfect pitch?
It's back with the financial data. So at the end of the day, investors are there to make money. So if you can help, I think that would help them.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
How was the demo day pitch today?
Yeah, it was wonderful. Especially, I like the point that there are multiple VCs who had come to understand our startup, and it was definitely encouraging. They were trying to understand the challenges that we have, and it was encouraging. Well, fingers crossed till we get the report from them.
Right. How has been the entire cohort of STPI, the COE?
I have liked it personally. One of the fundamental things that I've liked it like this, probably this is the way it is going on after COVID, but again I liked it because there was a chance that we staying remotely from Bangalore could attend all the sessions as if we are there in person in Hyderabad. That was the best part of it. And the second important point is it was not just the AI companies. I own an AI company. It is also the gaming companies where innovation is there. So I liked it. Generally, when you talk about innovation, it is only one type of companies, right? Either AI company cohort or maybe IoT company cohort. But here I see both the gaming and AI companies. And the people, the team over here was also very supportive. They were proactive in letting us know that different types of conferences, they were also trying to proactively, they were trying to collaborate with the international cohorts. Like recently, a Russian cohort, they wanted us to be part of it, and I think that is very encouraging for startups.
Any suggestions to other founders in terms of pitching or in terms of incubation centers?
Other founders, I think they have to also apply for image COE if they are in the AI front or the gaming front. And about VC funding, I don't think I'm in the right position to suggest them till I get VC funding from companies. So
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yes.
Thank you for talking to MyStartup team.
Thank you. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
How did your demo day get today?
I think our demo day was good. So we had direct interactions with the investors. So what we are building is basically we are building an esports platform, and that helps other players to find other teams, players, tournaments, and also for the tournament organizers to organize tournaments in an automated system.
How did the pitch go, and what makes for a perfect pitch?
I think in terms of perfect pitch, it needs to be authenticity. That is what I mostly feel, because you can't just craft a story artificially. So it's more about also your journey, how you have thought this through, why you wanted to do this. And if you can tell the story in a very authentic way, in which that also connects with a lot of, that will help and, has a mass audience problem. So I think that will automatically get your investors attention.
Stay with me. Dhaval, please come forward. I would also, Dhaval, in terms of incubation centers, which city or which incubation center, what kind of incubation centers do startup founders really look forward to?
I think Hyderabad. I think Hyderabad has a very good start. I mean, as STPI, COE, then we have T Hub in Hyderabad. I think second would be the Bangalore, where they have a very good tech startup scene, and obviously there are a lot of active investors. So, after Hyderabad, I would say Bangalore. And probably then, we will have upcoming, smaller cities like Ahmedabad, they are also having a good startup scene over there, and there are a lot of financial MNCs coming up. So, it's a very good place to be in as well.
Thank you so much for talking to MyStartuptv. What's your take on on this particular question in terms of which cities make the best startup, and what kind of ecosystem are you looking at for startups?
So I think you can't say as best. You can say Bangalore has the head start, because it's, you can say, the Silicon Valley of India. So, but I think Delhi has good opportunities. Mumbai has good opportunities. Now Pune, Hyderabad, a lot of cities are coming up, and a lot of government initiatives have been also there. And the incubation centers was something that was not looked before. So now there are a lot of incubations that are coming up that are actually good and helps startups to solve the early stage problems which usually startups face and that kill those startups. So incubation centers have a big responsibility also in that front to get the right tools for entrepreneurs to get a success.
And a quick word on the uphill battle that's entrepreneurship and foundership kind of thing.
Yeah. So it'll be always up and down. So it's not always the same. You always have they say you always have a plan till you get punched on your face. So that's the same quote I'm going to use here, because the startup also ecosystem is like that. You have a plan, I'm going to go out in the market and we're going to launch and we're going to do this, and crazy people will come. But once you launch, before even launch, once you start developing, you're going to face a lot of problems. Some things don't work, some policies have changed. For every startup, it's very different. But it's not always a straight road. Most of the times you'll have to, curve through a mountain or dig a tunnel, different ways to get through the end road.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv. To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
Hello and welcome to MyStartuptv. I am at Image COE Startup Demo Day. What happened in the rooms on the other side?
Which is an edtech startup that's developing digital tools to enhance self-image as well as communication skills amongst our users. So Image COE has played a real pivotal role in our startup's journey. We were lucky to be a part of the third cohort. And during this 6-month engagement with them, we have evolved as an organization. We've been given the requisite frameworks which are needed, to put our startup on the path to success. Today's demo day was tradable product, and also look at winning interest from potential investors.
Do you have, as a startup founder, do you have any suggestions for people who want to join a particular incubator, probably the way they can pitch?
An incubator really plays a pivotal role, in a startup's journey. It's beyond just offering, physical spaces, for the startup team members to work, but more than anything, I think the mentorship which is offered, also backed by some sort of financial support, especially for early stage companies. This actually becomes the oxygen that will actually propel them to greater growth.
People who really want to master the skill.
Well, it all boils down to storytelling. Are you an effective raconteur? Are you someone who can engage an audience? Right? Are you able to tell a story in a real compelling manner? Are you able to influence the stakeholders to swing their opinion, their thoughts, in favor of your organization, right? So make a compelling story, make it exciting, be a cut above the rest, be a little unconventional. That is what I would suggest.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
In today's age and time, people seek to be part of a community or communities they can identify with. Helping people find their connect is Emilio, a startup that seeks to transform cities into curated microcosms of open, hyper-local communities. It is helping expand social horizon through the power of food and AI. Hello and welcome to this episode of Founder Talk on MyStartup TV, a dedicated media channel for startups and entrepreneurs. I'm majorsunilshetty. Joining us is Shekhar Dikshit, who's the foodie and whose company has declared among the Google top 3. Welcome, Shekhar.
Inviting me for this pleasantry talk.
What is the connection between food and AI?
Food and AI, I mean, see, the AI is all over us, right? It's dawning on us, and there's not if or when, and how are we adapting to the AI? And we feel like food is something that's been sustaining us for ages, and the power of AI can transform our experiences through personalization and by simplifying choices. There are great, benefits that we can reap through AI, and that's what we'll be unleashing in the power of technology in a couple of months.
Food and AI, and then your tagline, how does that, fit into each other, as in, building communities with love of food, right? That's what your tagline is all about. So, firstly, how far have you come on a scale of 1 to 10, and how are you integrating all these things together?
Certainly, I mean, I would say that we are probably at the number 6, right? Unleashing the power of community and food with AI and creating the surprise and happiness with many. But I would like to share a bit of a backdrop story on how we got motivated in the first place. This starts around last year when I moved to Pune, right around July. 10 people in the community, an entire 50 people in the city, in city like Pune. And I was thinking for myself, like despite the social networks like Facebook, which have near become entertainments and engagement these days, or WhatsApp, which is completely closed communities, you can only join if somebody invites you. I'm not really able to explore my social horizon beyond what these networks are giving me, and they're hindering my exposure. And there's so much that city like Pune or Hyderabad has to offer for someone like me, and understand and meet up with people. And I said, what if we build hyperlocal communities that is open for you to explore, saying what are the groups, and they are curated by your locale or different interests, and you are able to open to go and join those communities, meet up with some new set of people, what city has to offer. And what if you take that and glue it up with something that is as strong as food? For thousands of years, the communities were smaller, festivities were the way of life, and food has always been the conduit
as a central part of it.
As a central part of it. So I said, while we are entertaining together, create meaningful connection over food, and that's when we say that when two people meet, right? Imagine those last 5 instances or encounters you had. Food, drink, or coffee has been part of that conversation. And that's what we want. When it comes to AI, and I would say food is something that is unique for each one. Right? One size fits all is not like T-shirt that food style approach, whereas food is so much that is unique for each taste. So that is how through our platform we learn those things are taken not only in simplifying the choices that you get each time you go out, but also take those preferences and digitally send it to the kitchens through the power of partnership that we've done with POS.
So in today's world of Zomato and Swiggy, where does MLU fit in?
I would respond that into 3 parts. See, one, when you talk about food, just some statistics I'll try to share. There are, the Indian market itself, there's 4 billion people out there. The more population increasing, food and their spend on food is also increasing exponentially. Right, that's one fact. The second, today the total Indian food spend as per NRAI is roughly around 4.78 lakh crore rupees, of which only 5% of that been put into a marketplace. Still leaving so much of food that is digitized through paid through Paytm or POS, but not aggregated to marketplace. That's the second space. The third, our element, I just want to take the facts and then get into the differentiation. And third element is, when you look at food and eating out or dining in, there's so many different ways of engagement we get in. Only delivery has been one part of the problem that's been solved, leaving the opportunity for us to solve many other ways of interacting with food that we have on a daily basis. Education perspective, I use a simple phrase. I would like to say that here. For us, the tagline has been delivering happiness with food. I think that's where we, within your own cities and neighborhood, right? So that way, you know, with food you have joy, people and continue to explore and have that joy and happiness with food, right? The second, part is really allowing you to have simplified choices. An example I would cite, you know, if you are planning to go out for an anniversary with your wife, or a birthday for your kid, right? Rather than going out to the same old place and having the same old thing, there is an opportunity for us to create a curated experiences, which is what we have launched in Pune, and we are learning through experiments that is what is the need of the hour. That people are willing to spend money, but they are not having those experiences. That is the second differentiation we bring to the market. First is social convenience, spreading joy with food. Second is, you know, building and having experiences of eating out and having those elements. And third is our entire model has been built in such a way that, you know, we are able to create this value and happiness through the power of partnership and AI. Right?
So and when you say talk about partnership, could you elaborate upon that as to what kind of partnership are you building?
So a couple of examples I would like to bring in. So we are already live, which is one of the popular delivery partner, is you know, we have done a pilot with them in Pune. So without putting our boots on the ground, we are able to deliver food and happiness to your own comfort of space of home or outside. Right? So with this partnership, we are able to exactly do what anybody else did much better.
So yes, also your cost comes down there.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And the second partnership, we are partnered with some of the popular POS systems, which gives us access to the market scale of customers. But at the same time, all those personalization that we talked about through the power of AI and choices, we are able to take those instructions directly to the kitchen so that the people cook the food the way you wanted, and it becomes an experience of your own each time. Right? That's the second set of partnership with POS, because they are better in that space. Right? And the third one is the ONDC. I don't know if you have heard of ONDC. But that's the next biggest revolution or tide that's going to, you know, be seen or known by the industry from next year on. So what UPI did for wallets, if you know, the time before, each time you had to fill in wallet and Paytm, PhonePe, and there was no interoperability. So UPI solved that interoperability, and you see wider adoption across everybody here. Cash nahi mujhe UPI karo. Right. So the same thing the ONDC is doing with the democratization of the e-commerce, right? And our philosophy from day one has always been use the right mind for the right purpose. That's how we wanted to use the leverage of Dunzo being the best delivery network, or maybe there are 100 others that we are able to use through ONDC and have the delivery catered at your convenience. Bring in restaurants of your choice rather than us going restaurant by restaurant trying to manage the supply. So through the power of partnership and the ONDC, we are able to bring any restaurant and make that choice available to you. And this is how we are leveraging partnership and the power of AI in bringing personalization and experience along with people.
What next for you? I mean, you have been, top 3 in Google. You got some funding from them. You want to talk about that a bit, and also you're also part of the India Startup Festival. The first edition where you're among the top 10. So if you can just share about your experience there and what next for your startup.
So journey began with us winning the award of top 10 in ISF last year, right around the same time, and that was the biggest accolade. With that, despite the funders and access to people, I think that's what I'm realizing more. Despite the 2 decades of corporate consulting and CXO experience, it is always about learning and having the right people around you to walk along the journey. And as an entrepreneur, that's my biggest learning I've taken from here. And through the ISF network, I've met a lot of great mentors. We have raised some funding through, ISF angels as well as other angel groups in the early part of the year. And then that also paved the path to, get into the Google cohort. We have been fortunate to be top 30 in Asia Pacific and ANZ, which is an accolade that was given only to 3 companies in India. We were one of them. And we also received a 200K in investment from Google. That's a sense of excitement. And from ever since that propelled our trajectory. And now in the second edition of ISF, we volunteered, or we were part of the core group in organizing the event and so on. Because I'm a firm believer of giving back in a way, so that way it becomes more sustainable, right? While I've received a blessing in mentorship disguise, and we're still on our journey of figuring out how to go to the next. We have volunteered and be part of the core organizing team of the ISF. '23, which has seen tremendous success with 10,000 startups coming in, and definitely helping a couple of other founders and startups in a similar set of journey who are probably a year early. So it's been and part of that ISF, and certainly with Google, we've been blessed to not only get their support on technology. We have assigned mentors from them who are helping us day in and out. We're also getting access and nexus to their investment network. I mean, Google, right? It's all over place, and certainly we feel very positive on, once we get it to from 6 to 7, which is going to happen within this year. It's going to unleash a completely new era that people have not seen. Especially hyperlocal social networking, meeting more people to what city has to offer. This is going to disrupt 2 spaces. One is how food is taken in, not just as a commodity to consume, but as an experience to meet along with people. And the social networking, which has been shared entertainment, it really creates some meaningful connections and some conversations over it.
And what next?
So next we have a couple of things on the plan, but I would like to share a few. One, despite us building the open network, which you are able to explore, curated based on the entire city getting transformed into microcosms, we are also looking to enable the power of food and AI onto existing communities rather than unrooting from them. For example, we'll be creating some options or exposing these options on top of existing WhatsApps and Telegrams, so that people who are conversing or communicating over those networks are able to use the choices and experiences that we built through our platform.
And ease of access, right?
Ease of access. I think that's the first point I keep bringing in, that today in the world, there are too many choices confusing us. Simplification choice is one of the biggest favor we can do for ourselves, right, through means of technology. And that is one thing that we'll be looking into. And second is certainly why we feel the pain of social exposure being constricted in the urban cities. Such pain exists not only just in India but also many other countries which are much more the social fragmentation much more widespread. So we see this as an opportunity of building something great in India and taking it across to places, and to the US, Dubai, and I've lived there in places quite developed and countries. But when you look at social psyche or how people come together, there's a lot of opportunity for us to bring a platform like this and create that community and communion over food.
And food, having traveled myself a bit, different parts of the world, food is a common language, right? People speak, they get together, they form community around food. So which is, makes a lot of sense in what you're doing. What has been the experience of your users or the people who use Amelio today?
Certainly, see, from the restaurant we are actually getting a lot of patronage. Today we have 50 restaurants. We have just limited to experimented with few, but we have another 250 lining up to be on board. So that shows that we're doing something that they're loving or liking. And from a user perspective, so far what we have done and shown to the world is we can do things much better, 10x better than what our predecessors have been doing. With the community angle coming up, and we see on this journey, we did an extensive interview with around 500 people of different age group, different startups, and see, hey, this is our concept. If I give you the opportunity, open, networking within the cities, that's something exciting, and that's how we have learned through the experience and start building the product and the platform. Right, that's the one segue that we've seen that in Pune. But over and beyond, it just seems to be a very exciting time, in many facets. While we are getting out of the funding, things are looking spring on a different angle. India is going through a big transformation with startups. All of us have known about it. There's nothing new that I'm sharing here, but I'm just reiterating or saying, preaching to the choir. So definitely we are at the right time and space, I believe, and we have got a right support in terms of investors and the mentors, and definitely we just need to cross the bridge. That's going to be happening within the next 3 to 6 months, and that creates a new avenue and opportunity for us to take it and spread it across.
Thank you for being on our show, and we wish you all the very best, and you continue to build community community with not just communities, but community with the flavor, with the taste. Thank you.
No, absolutely. I think, see, other than food, we definitely want to bring more things to the communities as we go in entertainment and content. But at this stage, the food being the strongest glue, we'll start off with it. Giving something more and spread happiness with food. Food is our first motto.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure talking to you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
A. Ayodhya Ramireddy, founder of Ramki Group of Companies, our special invitee and keynote speaker for the evening. I have quite a few things written about him which are very specific to this group, and you will be interested in knowing that. Ramki Group, founded in 1994, is a pioneer in executing many public-private partnership projects with a vision, this will be interesting for you, with a vision of sustainable development in emerging global markets, including India. Under Ramki, Enviro Engineers Limited, they provide comprehensive environment management to municipal customers. Listen to this. Dealing wastewater, paper, plastic, and integrated waste. In addition, they also offer renewable energy consultancy and integrated environment services. So this must be making complete sense as to why we have him as our special guest today. He is currently a member of the Rajya Sabha. He's passionate. This will be very interesting for the startups. He's passionate about startup and entrepreneurial mentorship. So all that you have to do is just walk up to him and seek for that. And he offers this under the ARR group. As a keynote speaker, we'll get his insights on navigating the path to sustainable prosperity, ranging from green energy to carbon credits. Ayodhya garu.
I'm extremely happy. The program Catalyst, organized by HISIA, are sitting here with the purpose to see, how all of us can be, most of us, how we can contribute to the growing economic situation, balancing the sustainability while we are growing economically. If you look at India for the last 75 years, we have grown. But if you look at, there were a lot of gaps in our growth. Globally also, similar situations. The time we have reached here, for next 25 years, for India and for the globe, I think the time has come. While the economics grow up, carbonomics have to come down. So that means there is a real opportunity for every stakeholder to look back and then see how they can improve the environment in the areas where they are working. As you all know, environment is God. All the 5 elements embedded in that. When I look at myself starting this journey in 1994 to build sustainable solutions for the businesses or the life path which I have taken, everywhere I try to see sustainability as a key goal. United Nations has come out with their sustainable development goals, as you are aware, are most important from my point of view. I always kept on talking about those goals, which really brings us at a platform where each one of us has to can really balance our businesses around that. Now, my experience I want to share, while I say how India has moving from a 4 trillion to 40 trillion in next 25 years. It is asking for a 10 lakh crores of investment only in the infrastructure space. If you look at that infrastructure around agriculture, manufacturing, services, and the infrastructure, all these 4 areas combinedly, the infrastructure investment that is going to go is to that extent almost 40 lakh crores of investment every year. In that, coming to the waste management space. Waste management in urban areas and industrial areas. If you look at the solutions around these two, has a major impact. The moment we talk of this building, the entire design, engineering, the products that are going to get in, the entire execution, the operation and maintenance, at every phase, there is a lot that we can save. Here, that is an opportunity for a startup, which was not looked at in the past. Around every industry, same thing, civil infrastructure, environmental infrastructure, social infrastructure that we have built. Most of the places we have never applied our mind. While we had environmental impact assessment, environmental audits, environmental monitoring programs, we have never focused the way it is supposed to be. So means the diagnosis that you can bring in all these 4 areas of investment for next 25 years within India, a huge opportunity around environment, which will bring in the best of the impact on the social aspects. So, I have built a business model, whether it is in infrastructure construction or the environment and waste management or the real estate and the agri farming or the consultancy and advisory, in which Ram group, actually now I am only a founder, there is a team, professional team, with the best of board and governance, shareholders are happening. But my last 35-40 years of journey, my past journey, actually what I have seen in these areas, actually this company and this group has built around that. So when I look back and see from now to next 25 years, looking at this sort of investment opportunities, I think this is the place where I can tell you, if I was doing a 100 rupee business and making a 10 rupee profit, I can tell you same with the same resources in place, I can ensure that this business goes up from 100 to 200 and this 10 profit goes to 30. That is the type of opportunities where the entire startup ecosystem has an opportunity to build for themselves. So I just wanted to tell all of you that you are at a right spot. You have the government facilitating, both from central government to various state governments, including Telangana, and then in ecosystem like HICIA and T-Hub, facilitating and hand-holding. I can see putting up the right kind of mentors and subject matter specialists coming in place. The future is fantastic for every mentor and for every startup. But I wanted to tell few things for the startup entrepreneurs. For all of you, there is a good business opportunity. We also know where is that opportunity. We also have solutions. But the issue is, for all the startups, I want you to know that the business knowledge is very important. The knowledge that you have to accrue in terms of identifying or in terms of diagnosing the opportunities in the existing environmental platform. I think you should, for that you must work in the sector. Just coming from school, it's good, everybody have interests, etc. But my experience I wanted to tell, because from 2006 onwards, I have been, I was mentoring, I was investing around few startups. More than 23 I have invested. Okay, but not a great success story, because my sector itself was not matured enough, and still, a lot of risks in the system, so people were not ready to take up. But I can tell you the time is ready right now. Now it is the right time. So understand the knowledge. For that, diagnose, get into the entire spectrum of waste management, water management, wastewater management, air pollution control, noise pollution control, solid waste management, and all the tools of environment for governance. So try to understand, adds with the skills that we need to develop. So everywhere, for some time at least, we have to work in that particular area to understand what are those real gaps. Today, I can tell you 10,000 problems, for which startups can give solutions in these 4 companies where I have had the experience. There is a lot. In fact, we have diagnosed and we have put them actually. So there is a great opportunity for every individual around and every organization around that. The skills also, there is a very limited number of people. Everybody is looking at how do I create a value, how do I make some money. Yes, we must make money. But end of the day, it has to be techno-economically viable solution. And for that, we have to be time tested. Okay, so certainly the skills that are required for the startups, you must get in and try to understand those things is one thing I am telling. And then finally, my advice to the teams here is this, the attitude with which we are going to work. At every level, hard work, commitment, is certainly very, very much required. And then I can tell you, this country has huge opportunities because we have the best of the talent, there is no doubt. We are also, I have also seen globally so many countries, more than 38 countries where, I had my operations and establishment. So I could see actually where are those opportunities, what sort of opportunities. Now, as a global village, when we look at the solutions that we can bring in around India, certainly they can be replicated in the rest of the world. People are looking forward to Indian brains. You all know that I need not talk much. So, the point is, around environment, there is a huge opportunity. And here is one organization which is India's largest environmental organization, which created more than, I think, 40,000 industries as their clients, and more than 5 lakh beds of hospitals every day they handle, more than 2 million tons of hazardous waste they handle. Every waste there is an opportunity for recycling, recovery, reusing. Every wastewater that comes out, there is an opportunity to treat and take it to next level. And every product that we are going to bring in is going to save lot of these wastages that are already happening in the system. So with these things, a great opportunity for everyone in this space, and this group and around me. Actually, now after my retirement from the business, actually, I have now started working with, as a mentor and also as an investor with various companies, and also I have taken a role to work for the government of India as a member of parliament in policy making, so, and also law making. So very clearly I have some deliverables I kept, and this is what I have told I went there with the Prime Minister. I told that I'm going to work in these 3 areas. Certainly, the industrial, environmental and waste management solutions, urban waste management and environmental solutions, environmental rules and regulations. So, in fact, all of us, every stakeholder here around governance, we must know the rules, the best of the rules that we have to follow and what is happening around that. Again, if you go and see there, a huge opportunity because the rules are not clearly adhered to at most of the places. So that itself brings in a great opportunity how to fix that. And also in line with the best of the European and US regulations, how the environmental rules of India have to further shape up. So in those areas also, every startup around ESG, I must tell you that should focus on understanding the rules and regulations, understanding the needs and what is the current situation, and around that how you can build your business. I think a huge opportunity, and I can tell you we are here in Hyderabad, just a few meters away from this building, a huge knowledge and expertise and experienced team, and I am myself a civil and environmental engineer for 4 decades of experience, and we have seen what India can provide to the developing nations globally. So with that, actually, I want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity. I'm here to take any questions from any of you, and also after this meeting also available to spend time with you people. Thank you very much to ICR Hub and all my friends here for giving me this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
I request Manisha Sabu to please address the audience.
There are 6 million IT employees in India as of now. That is the growth we've achieved in last 30 to 40 years. And now, as per analyst, we will be adding 2 million in next 3 to 4 years. That's what I thought as soon as I heard that 2 million number. How many are we getting in Hyderabad? And what are we doing to get this 2 million here? And a majority of this 2 million in Hyderabad. As Hyderabad IT Industries Association, it's not just a wish, but it's a response plan for it. So the first question, where is the growth going to happen? It is in GCC and startup area. 60 to 70% of the growth will be in GCC. So it means that we need to change the way we have been working, get more, become kind of a magnet. Hyderabad should become magnet for startups. And what ICIA can do it. So when it comes to what we can do, the question, what is it that we can play on? What is it that we can bring to the table? So our strength is all large organizations who are our members. What is it that the startups need? Startups need the large organization to mentor them, tell them what are the problem statements for which they can create solutions. Startup needs somebody to fund them. So the best way we can help startups to come to Hyderabad is by bringing corporates, VCs and startups together. And with this thought and advice from the Bhishma Pitamaha of Hyderabad IT, I can safely say that about J.A. Chaudhary Garu. With his advice from people who are deeply ingrained in the startup system like Ramesh Loganathan and of course MSR, we said, okay, let's all come together and see how can we create an ecosystem for startup, and that's where Catalyst was born. As you heard from Kishore as well as Shanti, this is the third Catalyst, and with what I see is that the venue size is increasing as we are adding the addition. So it means that it's becoming more popular, more meaningful, and more enriching experience for the participants. More and more people want to be part of this. This is something very important that we want to talk about. When I said that we want to build the ecosystem, we want mentors, we need people who will invest. You know, we have done 2 catalysts, and you will notice that this has started helping us. One outcome of this is Phoenix Group has come forward to mentor that's a very big thing, because you know that everybody forward looking. So I'm so glad to have Phoenix Group mentor our startups who are participating. So thank everybody who has accepted to give their time here today.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
May I now request MSR to come and talk to us about the ESG plans. They have several cohorts running. Eager to hear to you.
So an honor and privilege to be here at the went off really well. Most of our startups benefited hugely, right? And this whole, essentially when you think about an entrepreneur ecosystem, you need startups, you need large companies who believe in paying it forward, which is what members of ICA are doing. You need funding institutions, which could be banks, which could be VCs. You need industry associations, of which ICA is a stellar example. And of course, you need media and you need significant extent. So thank you for being here. I just thought before we get into talking about what we are doing at T-Hub, I'm sure many of you would have read, which I read a couple of days ago. So I thought I'll start with that. And the quote is, unlike his quotes, which are usually very long, this one is a fairly simple one. He says, difficulty is what wakes up the genius. Okay. And I was trying to do some reading on, when did this term ESG come up, right? And actually, it's almost a 20-year-old term, right? There's some background. There's a gentleman called Kofi Annan, who was the UN Secretary General. So he called a meeting with National Financial Corporation, commissioned a study in 2004, and then 2005 they came up with a who cares wins. Okay, and when you think about it, it's very profound, right? Because I think we all have a responsibility to leave the planet in a better shape than when we came in, right? When you think about it. So this was the first time. So very quickly jumping on to what we are doing, and broadly the philosophy behind what we are doing at T-Hub from a ESG breathe air, fresh clean air. We can eat healthy food. Okay, and we can live sustainably. Right, so very simple. So that's what we are trying to do. So today we have close to about 90 plus startups whom we are working with across different spectrum of the ESG part. So we have startups in clean energy and clean energy, green energy and clean tech. We have startups in SDG mapping and reporting. We have startups in waste management, both solid and e-waste. We have startups in carbon footprint reduction and carbon credits. We have startups in water management, right? And some of them are there at the back. So I think this opportunity, to partner with ICA is something we value deeply. I think it will be the next startup capital of India. Startup the only my last submission to all of you is ESG is important because we have to combine profit with purpose. Right? That's one of our goals at T-Hub, that everything we do must lead to a better and more sustainable planet, and this is something which we emphasize with all our startups, that we are not in the game for valuation, but we are in the game of building sustainable businesses which scale, which grow, which create jobs, and obviously enrich the ecosystem. So thank you again, the team at HYSIA, and thank you, sir, for being here today. You are a real inspiration for all of us, how you've been able to combine your role as a corporate leader and also build one of India's largest companies in the environment space. So thank you for being here, and look forward to hearing from you, sir, and also, of course, the panel discussions. And thank you for all the startups, and thank you for the team at T-Hub, which has done, the team at the back, you can all wave, for putting together, a really well curated list of startups who are going to be part of the panel discussion. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartuptv.
So, this is going to be the starting of the panel discussion. I want to set a little bit of a background to this. To craft some meaningful conversations, we have conducted a survey, like Kishore had said. We have reached out to corporates, including reality developers, property management consultants, NGOs in the sustainability space, to understand what are their areas of priority. We were just not looking at, putting together a panel discussion, but instead we wanted to have discussions that make sense to both the corporates and the startups. So, feedback. Thank you. So these are going to be spotlight areas that we will be having conversations on now. Now, there's a little bit that I want to tell about how this panel discussion is slightly different from the normal panel discussions that we have seen. When we reached out to the startups, the first, so that no, this is not going to be a pitch, but you are going to corporates on stage. So this, to make sure that we have the right conversations, be a part of the panel here. This doesn't mean, like Kishore said, that the others are not something that they should be here, but they are now. So you can also see the kind of criteria that we have taken up while we curated. Now this, Bipin was very clear that we should inform this to the startups who have all applied so that they understand, they also introspect to see, for future what they could do better. So on that note, I invite panel 1 to please come. COO First Source, Vice President HICIA, ESG Intervention Leader, and the moderator for panel 1. So we have 2 panel discussions actually. For ease of conversation and giving an are doing 2 panels, will last for 45 is exclusively catered for founder CEO Indrajit Shah, India ESG lead CBRE. Take group. Abdul Karim, Operations Executive, Bio Reform. And Dr. Merle Fernandez is Director, LVPEI.
Thank you, Shanti. It's a great honor to be here. Thank you for all the participants in this room. Ramreddy Garu for your presence here, MSR and the entire team. And all the team who's worked together tirelessly over the last 2 weeks to sort of curate this program, get this to where it is. I'm honored to be here to sort of spend some time. The way we're going to do this is to sort of, I want to take a few minutes to bring in all of y'all to this conversation and spend a few minutes in this interesting topic in terms of what are we trying to do from either solid waste management, clean energy. With that in mind, I wanted to take a minute to sort of, the guests are already invited and who are here, but I'll go round robin to sort of, get your insight into the conversation. Dr. Prafula, you've been here from a startup ecosystem, and you sort of had a couple of use cases that you've been dealing with to convert brown energy to green energy and aspects around carbon trading and how you can get energy neutrality. I wanted to get your sense in terms of this tech solution you built through the blockchain distributed ledger technology and how you're using it to sort of drive this globally. It'll be nice to get a sense from you, your mission, your passion, and why this idea, and how do you feel that is going to make?
I think on the first note I would like to start is thank you, Ramire, that working as a corporate, as an employee, how do we make sure our startup really aligns to what we bring to the table? I'm a very standout product every time I walk into any startup ecosystems. They look at me, I brought my daughter or my son because I don't look the 20-plus-year-old lot of startup tokery, and it's a green heart that's beating. Environment is not only a corporation. Each one of us have to make a difference. That's momentum to adopt clean energy. Now, how do we do that? And that's where we're solving using blockchain technology, where we're able to fractionalize renewable energy and various attributes that it has. Like your energy credits, which individual households can adopt, which you can do it for your societies, for your offices, for your events, for your birthday parties, for your team events, anywhere you can adopt it. There's a question that I always face is, but the credit is an offset, so it doesn't sound too good. But let me just say this, we all live in cities like Hyderabad. I'm coming from. We do not think twice if that coracle which has come and all that, any coracle to get us out is welcome at that stage. Environmentally, that's where we are today. So what we are doing is working across the value chain of renewable energy. We are in discussions at obligations, start creating an identity for it, so that that renewable energy can be still delivered in the hands of end users. So it can be at a cost. I'm not getting into the commercials there. But a blockchain allows that identity creation from generation to consumption. And that's going to revolutionize. But I'll end with a very small anecdote. When I was presenting this to the MSc forum in Uttar Pradesh, I had a small scale exporter from Moradabad who exports brass artifacts. He said, ma'am, if I do this, can my son write it in his personal statement as his environment contribution, because he's applying for universities in the US. So that's the kind of adoption that we're seeing, and we're making it very, very simple, not only for adoption, even for your proof. And while we use blockchain, that's at the back end. Let's not complicate it for end users. You see a QR code there. I have a permission from that client right now. You can just scan on it. It'll give you the proof where this particular organization is consuming its renewable energy from. So I will end on that note. Our vision is very simple. We want every heart to be green. It's each one's responsibility. Adopt renewable energy directly or indirectly, it doesn't matter, because just because we want to only set up part of our land, that's not sustainable either. So let's not be tilted too much on one side, but take a holistic view. And all the best to all of us, that we leave this place a better place. And in conclusion, somebody asked me, this is a 20-25 year journey. When Maggie came, none of us liked that flavors being built for just this generation. We're talking Tokri for the next 20 years, and that's our vision. Thank you.
Awesome. Brilliant, Doctor. So I'm assuming we can today sitting here can get access to convert our brown power to green power by tokenized solution, right?
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Maybe we should do that, right, at the end of this workshop, to show our commitment to green energy in terms of what we're doing from an organization standpoint. Brilliant. So just one thing teeing up from there before I go to the next panelist here is this provides access globally. You're able to provide identity across global producers of green energy, or is it localized to India currently? Awesome, that's good, right? So we don't need to use our land to produce. We can always consume from outside. Fantastic.
Absolutely not.
Fantastic, thank you. Brilliant. Indrajit, over to you. You've been on this advisory space for a while, dabbling across a variety of things. So I wanted to get you in to get a sense on, as a consultant, talking to different stakeholders, working with a real estate company, talking to their clients, corporates, industries, policies, carbon credits and net neutrality. obviously have a larger perspective. And how does policy needs to change, sort of make sure that people are doing this, right? So when people talk to me, I said purpose is more important than anything. So obviously it all starts with us being very purposeful in terms of what we want to do, and make sure that we're making this world a safer place to live in. Outside of that, there's a lot goes into, like Ramreddy Garu said, in terms of policy, frameworks, awareness, willingness, access to sort of get this going. So what's your sense on how do we sort of step up from here and take a step change? What's an incremental change?
Thanks for that, Shant. I'd just like to start off with a little bit of populace. And there was a report which said